Hi there dreamers, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hello! My name is Jacqueline, thank you for spending some time here. I hope you consider subscribing if you are a fellow crazy plant person. I particularly enjoy Hoyas, though I have a lot of other plants too. I don't have a regular schedule right now, but click that bell to be notified when I post new videos. I'd love to have you here more often. Someone's rolling their trash can, and it's very loud. I know it's not spring yet, but we can be hopeful. We can look ahead and we can look forward to things, and stores are starting to bring out spring garden supplies. I have picked up several things that I thought were really good buys recently, so I thought I would share them with you. Because it is spring, I am replenishing some of my supplies. I've actually done a lot of repotting lately, so I had to buy some soil amending supplies, so I'm going to include those as well. Give this video a like down below, that helps me out a lot. Tell me which of these items you might be picking up if you're interested in any of them. I will do my best to link everything that's available for you online down below. And if there are things that it makes more sense to get in person, I'll try to let you know as well. I don't know about you, but a lot of my plants are on solid shelving or solid surfaces. And a lot of them, even that weren't in terracotta, were on terracotta saucers, just because that's what I had the most of in my collection. And recently when I was doing an overhaul in this room, I was doing a deep clean, I was taking everything off the shelves, and I was looking at the undersides of these terracotta saucers, and they were starting to grow mold, and that really freaked me out. I don't think that it's healthy to have terracotta saucers on solid surfaces, just because they do try to emit some of that moisture from underneath and it gets trapped there. If you're on a shelf that has aeration, like it's a mesh shelf or it's maybe a wire shelf or something like that, saucer can breathe, then I think it's an appropriate time to use an unsealed or clay terracotta saucer. But otherwise, I think it's best to either go with something that's completely sealed in ceramic, which is it's breakable, it's expensive, they're harder to track down, they're heavy, or you can do something plastic. And I found these on Amazon. They were solid. I wanted something that I could bottom water if I chose to do that, because I do that for a lot of my collection. I wanted something that looked a little less chintzy than the super thin clear plastic saucers, since so much of my collection needed to be changed over to this. So I found these to be pretty cost effective, and I bought them in packages of like 10 or 20, depending on the size. I can't quite remember, but this one is like a 3.5 inch and this is like a 4.5 inch, something like that. I have a lot of plants in small pots, so these are what I replaced all of those terracotta saucers with, because I didn't want to deal with any mold on my surfaces and growing near my plants. Obviously, that's not ideal. These have been really, really sturdy. They don't bend easily. I feel like you could put a pretty heavy pot in them and still carry it around pretty safely. I also like that they had some neutral colors. I picked gray just because white gets really dirty, and this was neutral. Just FYI, anything that I can make a small commission for in those links, I do create those kinds of links, just because it helps support my channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if it's something you're going to buy anyway and you don't have a problem with that, please use my links down below. If you don't want that, if you have some sort of problem with that, then just Google the product and purchase it on your own. One other Amazon thing I picked up, I actually picked this up courtesy of my friend Paula, a repotting mat that I picked up on Amazon. It is this kind of tarp-like material, and on the inside it's coated. You can kind of see the corners snap up, so it's not like a rigid side thing. It generally kind of folds the sides up a little bit to keep soil from completely going everywhere. I saw other options available from like individuals on Instagram and things like that, but they just seemed really overpriced for what the materials were. It's not clear, so it's not gonna like yellow with time, but because it has that coating, after I've dumped any soil or waste or whatever that was left on it, I can just spray it down and wipe it. So it's really nice. I personally like to repot inside, so it's helpful to save my floors so much mess by protecting them with this. One last thing I get on Amazon before we move on to things that I got either at the hardware store or at Walmart, and this is a necessity particularly if you have fungus gnats. I don't talk about this often, but I have linked it in my products that I like and recommend and use in my description box. So if you're ever looking for those tried and true products, they are down there. Essentially, it's little bits of corn cob that are coated in a bacteria that will disperse into your soil and kill fungus gnat larvae. The reason why sticky traps and other forms of trying to tackle the adult fungus gnat are ineffective is because 75% of their life cycle is spent in the soil. And I want to say one fungus gnat can lay like 200 eggs or something. It's ridiculous. So what I do with my mosquito bits is I'll put like a quarter cup or something into a gallon of water that I'm going to use to water my plants, and I will let it sit overnight or for half an hour or however long I can before straining that water. I don't leave the bits in the water that I water my plants with, simply because these do break down. They're organic matter. They get moldy. It's kind of gross looking. I'm not into that. But the bacterial component, the part that is effectively tackling the fungus gnat problem, will be transferred to the water, and you won't need the solid pieces anymore. This I use pretty regularly. I use this more so when I notice that I'm having an issue. Having 150 houseplants, I definitely have some fungus gnats, a couple here and there all the time, but if it ever starts to become more than just a couple, I start using this in my water. And it's not a bad thing to use every time. If that's something you're having a problem with, I would use it if you're having a bad infestation until you no longer see them for some time. I want to talk quickly about soil because that's not something I talk about all the time, but because I was repotting a bunch of things were root bound in my collection and I just needed to do something about it, so I went through a lot of my soil components. The soil that I really like, I actually pick up from a nursery here in town, and it's one that I've seen at multiple nurseries across multiple states in the US, so I think it'll be pretty easy for you to find. However, I have linked it for you down below just in case you're not comfortable going to nurseries or maybe there aren't any near you. Fox Farm Ocean Forest Soil Mix. I really like this. Now, I don't use this straight alone. We'll talk more about some of the things that I add into it here in a minute. Primarily, the reason why I enjoy this soil is A, it's not Miracle-Gro because I've just not had the best of luck with that. And what I really enjoy is that they do use earthworm castings as like a natural fertilizer in the soil. So if you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable fertilizing your plants, you are just kind of naturally doing that at a very healthy, low dose level just by watering your plants when they're in this type of soil. I find it really effective for my houseplants. They seem to really enjoy it. It's pretty inexpensive for a large bag in person, I find. I can't vouch for online because I haven't purchased it that way. I tend to amend my soil with orchid bark. I was looking for it at multiple stores and I couldn't find the one that I was looking for, so I eventually just settled on something else because it not only had bark, but it also had perlite. So I was like, okay, 2 birds, 1 stone. I will buy this mix and give it a try. Well, I fell in love with it. This lovely product I found at my local Lowe's. It's not something that they sell online. I don't think you can even do like a reserve online pickup in store thing. It's just obnoxious, but it's right next to all of their soil products outside, at least at my Lowe's. I really love this stuff. Not only does it have really large pieces of perlite, which I just find a lot more effective because they can kind of get tucked into the soil and not float as freely as having like little crumbs of perlite. I just find that really ineffective in my soil. With time, they just all rise to the top and it's not aerating your soil anymore. But this also has much smaller pieces of orchid bark in it. So I find that especially for my smaller plants, which a lot of them are, for Hoyas, their delicate root systems, and peperomias, I just feel like it's a lot more attainable for their little root systems to work around these tiny pieces of bark than those giant chunks that you would get in like your regular mix, or at least the mix I usually saw at plant stores. This random little trinket I actually picked up at Dollar Tree, and it just occurred to me that if you don't bottom water, maybe you only need one saucer or you need a couple of things. I haven't put this to use yet, but I figured it would be handy to have. This is just a candle holder from the Dollar Tree, from the dollar store. This would be nice as a saucer, especially if you have like more minimalistic decor or you don't want something that's going to have like a high profile, something like this. If you just want something that's very discreet, for a whole $1 you can get one of these. I want to say it would fit like a 6-inch pot as long as it's tapered at the bottom. This is probably about 5 inches. This was probably my favorite find of the bunch. This I found at Walmart, and it was very discreet. It was just sitting in a box. There were a bunch of them. Because it's something that folds up, you can't really see what it is. I think $6.84, under $7. And I was like, huh, what is that? I couldn't believe that Walmart had these, and I went back and got multiple because I just know that I'm gonna enjoy using them in the future. And this is a versatile metal plant stand. And this is how it looks in the store. It's just sitting there in a bin like this or like this. It's just this really sturdy, and you can see there's 2 different heights. So like you can have it this way or you can have it this way, whatever you prefer. This is what I have my Heartleaf philodendron sitting on that you guys have seen in my last couple of videos. It fits up to an 8-inch pot. You can see right here, this little bit here is little foam sticky things to put on the bottom. So like if you have hardwood floors or something, it shouldn't scuff as bad. I did see in the reviews online that those aren't the most effective, but you can totally DIY your own version of that. I just love this, and I thought this was so cool, and I couldn't believe that there weren't more of them missing because this is such a great plant person thing. So go get those, clear out the Walmarts, because nobody knows that they're there. These next items I was so incredibly excited to stumble upon in Walmart because A, they're really cute, and B, they're really inexpensive. These are little 5-inch pots. They say they fit 4-inch pots, which I can vouch for. That's what I have in all of mine, is little 4-inch pots. And these are $2.88. They have them in a bunch of different styles, like this shape, for example. They have this kind of horizontal stripy one. There's a couple of different other textures that I just didn't really care for, but they have them in gray and white. These guys do come with little rubber stoppers, so you can use them as actual planters and plant directly inside them, but I like to use them as cache pots because, like I was describing, I don't want any mold to form under the terracotta saucers, so I thought these are really cute, and they're a lot more decorative than just sitting it in some weird saucer. So I really enjoyed these. I picked up a few. I picked up a handful. The last couple of things on my list are like $5 pots, and I couldn't believe it because these are 6-inch pots. This one I do have one of those like awkward square 4-inch planters in. This is a Hoya I received that I couldn't find any other cache pots that it would fit in. I normally don't go for colorful pots in my collection, but the few that I have are kind of this more blue or teal color, so I feel like this fits in really well. This is just so pretty, and again, it has that stopper at the bottom, which I've kept in place because I'm using it as a cache pot, but you could plant directly in here as well. I will say with the odd shape of it, you're not going to be able to fit a traditional 6-inch planter in here, so just bear in mind that it's kind of for those funky size pots, or just put a 4-inch full guy in here and you won't even see the gap. True confessions, this next pot was not on my list originally. It was something that I settled for because I went looking for another one of those green pots and I couldn't find them anywhere. They don't sell it online, so I couldn't order more. But I really enjoyed this pot. This is a 6-inch pot, again, from Walmart, and this one was $5 as well. Again, this guy has the stopper at the bottom, so you can choose how you use it, whether it's a decorative pot or you pot directly in it. I tend to like neutral pots, so this was perfect for me. I again have one of those kind of awkward square 4-inch pots in here because it doesn't fit in anything else. I purchased this really cool like faux galvanized planter for my fiddly fig. It was kind of expensive for what it is. I mean, it's a decorative plastic pot. it's molded and poured, and it's not like a nursery pot. It looks different. So in that respect, yeah, I'm paying for it, right? It again has that little stopper so you can use it as a decorative pot or plant directly in it. I planted directly in it and bought a saucer to go under it. I also bought, I call it a wheelie base. It's really just one of those plant caddies, but I was able to find a black plastic one for like $8 at Walmart, so I thought that was a really good find. Those are all the things that I purchased for the spring season for taking care of my houseplants. If you need to purchase any of these things, or if you are going to purchase any of these things, let me know what you are restocking on down below. I would love to hear from you in that comment section. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and that like button if you did. It helps me out a lot, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.